Good afternoon. Welcome back to the Tattered Podcast, where I talk about the book I wrote, Tattered When the Blue Line Frays, and some of the core ideals of that book and some of the backstory on what I did there. But this is a very important podcast. It's probably the most important one I've done. When I wrote Tattered, it was to give people encouragement and hope. And those are the people that this particular cast is directed at. It's not aimed at command staff, policymakers, internal affairs officers. It's not aimed at public. This one is for the officer who's sitting in their driveway. Maybe you had to get a ride home because they took your car. Maybe you know something bad is coming, or something has happened and you're in bad shape. The officer who's sitting in their driveway and doesn't want to go inside, doesn't know how to explain it to their wife and family, their parents or their friends. The one staring at their steering wheel, trying to figure out how this is supposed to end. This episode is a direct message to you. Do not make a permanent decision in a temporary storm. The sun will rise tomorrow. Maybe you were involved in a shooting. Maybe you're under investigation. Internal affairs called. Maybe the agency took your badge, your gun, your car. Maybe the rumor mill's already running and you're getting calls from people going, "Hey man, what's up?" People used to call you brother or sister. They've gone quiet. The phone's gonna turn off, and maybe for the first time in your life, you're thinking, suicide doesn't sound impossible, because I was that officer that was just as stable as could be, never had any problems whatsoever, and when my life exploded, the thoughts that went in my head were not good. And I don't want to leave another officer hanging with thoughts like that in their head. I want them to understand that there's hope, that tomorrow will come. Suicide is not an option. Suicide is not the way out. So I want to talk directly to you. Police work teaches us to push through pain, to get the call done, to move on to the next call. We learn to compartmentalize the stuff. We don't tell our families. We joke about it. When a cop says, "Man, that was a good accident," that is not what the public thinks a good accident is, right? It's the exact opposite. We deflect the feelings, the emotions, and when someone asks if we're all right, we all say the same thing, right? "I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. No problem." But sometimes the pain's different. And it's not just fear. It's shame, it's isolation, it's the collapse of an identity that you've built your life around. And the feeling that your whole life is being rewritten while no one's asking you what to write. And you're still trying to understand what happened and how. How did I get here? What happened here? If you've read Tattered, you know that the question that kept going through my head when I had the loop of things going through my head of what occurred, I kept saying to myself, why am I here? Why am I here? Why am I here? And I didn't understand it. But this is the thing that's important. You're not weak because this is hurting you. You're just human. Some people, strong people, they break too. Sometimes they break quietly, and sometimes they make bad decisions. When the badge comes off, you may feel like you disappeared with it, but you didn't. You might feel no longer useful, no longer respected, no longer trusted, no longer yourself. But listen to me carefully. You were somebody before you put on that badge, and you are still somebody without it. And you'll be somebody tomorrow. Your life has value even when your agency, your cases, your reputation, your career feels uncertain. The badge may be on pause, but your life is not over. Stay in the fight. There's a moment when your mind starts lying to you, right? It tells you they'd be better off without me. I can't survive this. For me, it was, I just don't want to go through this anymore. It lasted 2 years for me. It was horrible. It's 2 years of my life I'll probably never recover completely at all. I know I won't. My name's ruined, my family's ruined, my reputation's tarnished. There's no way back. There's only one way I can think of to stop the pain, and that's not truth. That's pain talking. And mental illness, mental injury doesn't bleed. We can't just slap a tourniquet on it or a bandage and say that's it. It's got to heal somehow. Never let your worst night make your final decision. We always want to go out on a high note, not on a low one. When somebody calls you, you don't have to explain the whole case. You don't have to defend yourself. You don't have to tell the perfect version of the story. You don't even have to sound strong. Just call someone and say, I'm not safe to be by myself right now. Because an officer, a friend, a family member, someone will come sit with you. And you know what? Sometimes you just need someone to sit there. A pastor, guys. If you don't have faith, then you're missing the point of a profession that is a calling to be men and women under authority, and that authority is derived from God. So call a pastor, even if you don't have a church. If you call a pastor and explain what you're going through, and you're a police officer, I don't know a pastor I've ever met that wouldn't drop what they're doing and get you help, or come to you, or do whatever they need to do to show you that the sun's going to rise. Call a peer support officer. Call another cop, someone you trust, another agency who knows you. If nothing else, call 988. It doesn't cost anything. You know, there's a bunch of resources at the end of the book, and they're all free. They're free. So if you're not getting a paycheck right now, don't let the money worry you. You got to be there for your family, for your friends. If you need to go to the ER, if it's that bad, go to the ER, go to a police station. Do not sit alone with a gun and plan. Don't. Nobody can help you if you decide in silence. You know, one of my sayings throughout the book and since then has been, silence is a decision. Leadership is not letting silence make the decision for you. You just can't let silence be the way that you let this happen. Reach out, find help. And it won't end tomorrow, all right? There's still going to be lawyers involved, statements, court hearings, investigations, maybe administrative leave. You're going to have to deal with your command staff, news articles. Those are fun. Rumors, people look at you a little differently sometimes. But tomorrow gives truth another day to breathe. And if you're accused of something you didn't do, stick to the truth. Because the truth will rear its head. The truth is slow, but it does come out. Tomorrow gives your family another day to be with you. Another day for you to find a reason to be with your family. To give someone a chance to step in and say, what's going on? How can I help? You know, when I was at our low point, when we were struggling financially, one day the gentleman and his wife showed up at my front door and they just handed me a check. And they looked at me and they said, that's for you. When we were going through some stuff, your mom and dad helped us out and we're paying it forward. I'll never forget that. There are people out there that'll help. God will send people to help. You're people under a divine mission. Tomorrow gives God another sunrise to put you through. You know, I like sunrises. To me, every time I've ever seen a sunrise, whether I was getting off midnight shift or going in on day shift, it was always something that I took to my heart to pray when I saw a sunrise. And not a prayer of I need, but a prayer of thank you, God, for another day. Thank you, God, what a wonderful day, what a beautiful day. Even if it's raining, the sun still comes up, you know? I know what it feels like when suicide moves from thought to option. I know what it feels like when you start to make a plan. I know what it feels like to sit there and think your career and identity are all over. They're gone. There's nothing I can do to fix this. It's literally out of your hands sometimes when you're in the midst of an investigation. And that, for a cop, is the most frustrating thing in the world. Because we're creatures of control. And when we have no control, our brain becomes one of our worst enemies. It wants to give us control. And that's the silent evil of suicide. It's you wanting to take control. I'll fix this problem. Because that's what we do as cops, right? We fix problems. I know what it feels like. But I also know this. I am grateful that I stayed. Because not everything got easy. It didn't. It was hard. My family and I went through a lot. But now looking back, I see the hand of God and what I did and how I went through it and what it made me be as a human being, as a man, as a police commander who now has a new understanding of what this type of stuff does to people. The story wasn't over, and I'm not going to end on a bad chapter. That's what I finally decided. That's why I wrote Tattered. You know, it's not from anger, it's not revenge, it's not to attack this profession. I'm a cop through and through, baby. I may not bleed blue, but I would if I could. I wrote it for the officer sitting where I once sat, doubting everything they ever knew, worried about everything they ever knew, and just terrified, and planning for a solution that was not the one that this profession needs. Your badge may come off, but your life still matters. And there is life after this. I promise you that. I'm the proof. So my message to you tonight, if you're sitting in your driveway, literally or figuratively, and you need to talk to someone, I want you to do it. It may be the most courageous thing you've ever done. You know, we rush gunfire. We train for the worst. Sometimes we deal with the worst. But the most courageous thing you might do is open your door and say, I need to talk. I'm not doing well. And that, in some ways, takes more courage than running into a bank robbery. The thin blue line is thin enough. You, brother or sister, are important. And we need you to be there tomorrow for the next day when the blue line calls again. Stay in the fight. Remember, we are the peacemakers.